So, hi everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. Today's webinar will be focusing on the Masters in Management and Global Masters in Management student experience. So as you can see today, we are joined by some of our ambassadors who are representing these two programs. So I'll begin by introducing myself. So my name is Malak Hamoud. I am the Student Recruitment Manager for the MiM, GMIM and MFA programs. I'll talk you through the layout for today's webinar. So as I mentioned, we're joined by our lovely ambassadors who are here to share some insights and a little bit about their experience on those programs. I have some set questions for the ambassadors. These questions will touch on the following topics. Really, you'll be getting to know the ambassadors themselves. They will have an opportunity to introduce themselves in a little while. We'll be touching on why they chose LBS and why they chose their specific programs. Also, we'll be exploring, from their opinion, a little bit about the LBS experience and community and their involvement in the clubs. We'll also be sharing their experience with the Career Centre, and they have kindly also shared some pictures with us that they are willing to kind of talk about as some of their highlights on the programme. And finally, as you know, these ambassadors, they were once in your shoes, either applying or have applied. Some of you may have applied and are currently waiting on the next steps. So we'd love to hear from our ambassadors on any tips for you guys as well. And we'll be concluding the webinar. Hopefully, if we have time, I'll be giving around 10 minutes for a Q&A session where you guys as listeners will be able to ask any specific questions that you have that we may not have covered today. So here are today's lovely ambassadors. So we have three who are currently doing the Masters in Management program, and we have Alison who is doing the Global Masters in Management program. So now they'll all be able to introduce themselves. So if we can begin with Laura.
Hi everyone, I'm Laura. I'm originally from Germany and I grew up in Frankfurt. I'm 23 years old, so I graduated from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania in 2018, and while I was there, I studied behavioral economics and marketing. And then after I graduated, I worked for a year, both in marketing and in analytics in the market research space, both at consumer goods companies. In my free time, I like to go running, go to concerts, and love cooking as well. And like I said, my past experience included both marketing and more analytics focused in the market research and fast-moving consumer goods field.
Great, thank you, Laura, for that introduction. And now we'll be moving over to George. Hi, George.
Hi, everyone. So I'm George. I grew up in London. So I haven't travelled particularly far compared to some of the other guys for LBS. I also did my undergraduate at Imperial College London, where I studied material science and engineering before realising that I was actually really interested in learning more about business. And some of my favourite courses at the school are strategy, decision and risk analysis, which is a slightly more analytical subject, business analytics, and also marketing. Some of my hobbies and interests, I love adventure sports. I used to train in athletics and competed in the pole vault, but nowadays I stick with snowboarding and scuba diving. The sort of clubs that I'm involved in are the Entrepreneurship Society and the Social Impact Consulting Club. And I'm currently working on a remote project for a change maker in Bangalore in India that specializes in different recycling systems. And then after LBS, I'm going to be working as a strategy consultant, focusing on life sciences for a company called Guidehouse, based in London.
That's great stuff, George. Thank you so much for that. Hi, Anna. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hello everyone. So I am French and Lebanese. I personally grew up in Abu Dhabi in the UAE, where I went to high school and then studied in Lebanon at the American University of Beirut, where I did a bachelor's in biology. So after my undergrad studies, I went to Paris and did clinical research training and an internship as a clinical research associate. And then after that, I did a consulting internship at PwC in Abu Dhabi, but I actually applied to LBS before the PwC internship. So I applied between both. My hobbies, I'm a big foodie. I love eating. I belly dance. I used to teach it at uni and performed here on campus during a tattoo event that we'll talk about later. And I just love hanging out with friends, any social events. I'm involved with the Middle East Club on campus. I am a member of the Salsa Club and a member of the Consulting Club as well. My goal after LBS is to work in consulting in the Middle East, where I already got an offer, and I chose the program because it just made the most sense for me in terms of the timeline of my career goal and what I needed out of the master's. So, yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Anna, for that. And finally, we'll move over to Alison.
Hi everyone. I'm speaking to you guys from Hong Kong, where I'm from. And before joining LBS, I was studying in Singapore at National University of Singapore, and I graduated with a Bachelor of Social Sciences and majoring in economics. And what really sparked me to join the Masters in Management program was that I felt that there was a gap between what I've learned in school in economics and what I'm interested in, which is business in real life. And as for my working experience, I actually come from a family business background, and that's in logistics and shipping, and we're based mainly in Asia. And apart from working with my family, I've also done internships in a conglomerate where I was part of a strategic planning department, and that was also very interesting for me. Currently, I am a GMIM student. I'm in my first year in London, and I am part of the Asia Club, and I've got many activities on campus. And tying all this back into what happened during my application to LBS, I was actually lacking a lot of confidence when I was submitting my application. That is because I didn't feel the confidence in my uni GPA and also my GMAT score. So what I like to say to you guys is that you should be confident in your profile and what you can bring to the table.
Thank you so much, Alison, for sharing that information. And we'll definitely be talking a little bit more in depth about those tips that you guys will have. I'm sure that will be valuable to all of our listeners today. So I'll start off with, I guess, the more basic questions. So I guess for you guys, I'm sure you all have a different story, and as we all learned, you come from a variety of different backgrounds and probably have studied very different things as well. So my first question for you guys is, why did you actually decide on your specific programs, and why was it that LBS was your choice?
Okay, I'll kick this off. So why did I decide to join the Masters in Management? First of all, the reason is I was doing quite a specialist engineering degree. I have very broad educational interests, and I wanted to branch out a little bit and learn more subjects. And I think the MiM catered for that because I could learn so many different disciplines, from finance to economics to accounting, business analytics. There were just such a wealth of different subjects that I really was curious about, and the MiM allowed me to access them. But the second reason is that I was very interested in going into consulting, but I'd been applying for consulting internships in London, I only got one interview. I really wanted to go into this as my career, but it was quite hard for me to sell kind of my story, why I wanted to go from a research-based subject into consulting. So I decided to, based on advice from a friend who had done the Masters in Management course, to actually pursue that, as I believed it would increase my chances of getting into the industry, and it absolutely has done so, and I've been able to access the industry because of that.
Great, thank you, George, for sharing.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm one of the students who has a little bit of work experience, so I think there's definitely a very equal split of people who came straight from undergrad and people who have a little bit of work experience. And in the year that I was working, I kind of noticed that to really get the full-time job that I wanted, I would need a master's basically to kind of get there. I had also sort of started specializing in the more marketing field, and even though I enjoyed my time working in marketing, I knew I wanted to become more general and branch out again as well. So I started looking at Masters in Management programs, and LBS really was the perfect fit for me because I loved the London location, but I also, the program itself, the classes that I would be taking and the way that I could tailor the program to my needs was basically exactly what I was looking for as well. So I was looking to go a little bit more into the analytics, but still have the general management background. And I think through the core courses at LBS and the MiM program, as well as the electives that you can take, there's like the perfect balance for me in terms of that. And then lastly, I was also super excited about all the people I would meet here. It's an incredibly international group of people, and everyone's so diverse and so different. And I know everyone always tells you this, but it's definitely true. And I was blown away by how many awesome people you really get to meet here. Yeah.
That's great, Laura. Thank you so much for sharing. Maybe Alison, would you mind letting us know, I guess, because you're doing the Global Masters in Management program, I guess, what was it that made you specifically choose that program?
For me, just because I do not have so many internship experience, I really value the summer in between the 2 years. And at the same time, I would like to learn more about business in general. And I thought 1 year wasn't long enough for me. Like, it felt kind of short. On another hand, my family business, we have business in China as well. So I wanted to really experience studying and also maybe doing an internship in China to really get to know the place and build a broader network in China. Yeah. And the reason why I think LBS is a good fit for me is because I really do like the London location. I studied in Asia from uni, and also I did an exchange program in the US. So I really wanted to experience another culture, and it's also been a childhood dream of mine to study in London. I don't know why, but yeah, it's quite funny. And the second thing is that I think Fudan University in China is also a very prestigious school for management especially. So I think it really fit my needs really well.
That's great, fantastic. And Anna, is there anything you'd want to add, or do you feel that everyone's kind of answered?
Yeah, I think my story is a bit similar to George in the sense that I had a biology degree, wanted to go into consulting, but it's also way easier to be a student when you're looking for a consulting job. It just made sense for me, especially that I didn't have the business background. I really wanted to fill that gap. LBS has an amazing program. It's the top university in Europe, and the opportunities, like the door it opens for you, are really amazing, and the school really equips you with everything you need to succeed. So yeah, I think it was the most logical step to take in order to progress with my career, and I'm very happy I made this choice.
That's great. Thank you all so much for sharing. So I also have some questions about the program content and a little bit more about your experiences while studying, so the academic side of things. So in your opinion, how would you actually describe the LBS experience as a whole?
Okay, I guess I'll start off again. So the experience as a whole, I think one of the most incredible things that you get from LBS is just the fact that everyone's come from different disciplines, different nationalities, speaks lots of different languages, different ages, and it just makes for such a rich classroom environment where everyone's bringing different ideas to the table. So you get to really learn from other people around you. And what I've found is that people at LBS are very supportive of each other, so they have time to give to each other. There's a real community feel, and people are just also really driven to achieve their goals. So I think it's a very inspirational environment to be in. And then moving on to what the courses are like, I think that what's special about LBS and how it kind of differs from my undergraduate experience is how practical the courses are. So you always have different projects to work on in your study groups. You always have active engagement and conversation in class, and your professors will actually speak to you. It feels very two-way. And I just feel like that really helps you to build concrete skills that you can then apply in the workplace. So yeah, maybe some of the other guys can answer.
Yeah, I think similar to what I mentioned before, so something that like attracted me to LBS, or why I was really excited to join, was the courses that LBS offered. And I was looking through all the core courses and like potential electives I could take, and I mean, that's what you're doing day to day here, so it was really important for me that I could get excited about the things that I would be studying. But I think what I didn't realize is everything else that comes with that as well. So you don't just have your classes that you go to every week, but you can pick your electives, and there's workshops and sessions that you can join that build on your more practical skills. For example, we had a workshop about your presentation skills, or how to remain resilient in challenging times. And I think all of these skills are very practical. We also looked at how your personal or your personality, how you can use that to find a career path or a job that really fits to you. So what that means for you as well. So I think those things, I didn't even realize how important or how interesting and useful these practical elements of the course were. But I really, really enjoyed those as well. And something that's another example of that, which we're just starting now in the spring, is the London Lab as well, where we're going to work with different companies around London. And I think I really enjoyed these like more practical aspects of the course.
If I could add to that, I mean, they've covered a lot of the program, but what's so great about the program in itself is that it really turns you into a well-rounded individual and really prepares you for life after LBS. So like they said, you have the academic part, you have the normal, I guess, studying for exams and individual assignments, but then you have a big component that's group work, learning how to work in teams, team building exercises, and the personal development aspects that Laura mentioned. In addition to that, we also have extra courses on specific skills. We had ones on Excel, for example. So I think it's a really comprehensive program.
I'd like to add that
I gather from all of you guys that it's really
sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, I would like to add that the main difference I felt in LBS compared to my undergraduate studies is that the support that the faculty and the program office gives you when you're along in this journey. You know, even in this time of uncertainty, they do check up on you, and they do give you a lot of feedback on your work, which is kind of rare for, in a big institution. So I think that is really helpful in my own learning and also my own development.
That's great, guys. Thank you all so much for sharing. And I guess, is there anything that you have probably found as a challenge or something that you didn't really expect? Also, just so that we can be transparent.
Yeah, so one of the things that I found challenging was that my job search took a little bit longer than I was expecting. You sort of hear that a lot of the recruitment in London will happen in November and December, but actually what I found is that it took me a little longer than that. I got my job offer in March, but also I found that jobs were coming through all year long, so there were always new things coming onto the market. And I think the job that I ended up taking, I submitted my CV in September or November time, and so I've only had my final interview in March and received my offer in mid-March. So yeah, it was a slightly different timeline to what I was expecting, but it just goes to show that it's easy to sort of panic in those situations, but actually what was great was that the Careers Centre kind of coached me through this experience and made sure that I was prepared for any interviews that I was going to, knew what to expect in terms of the timelines could be a bit longer than what I initially thought. And that really took my anxiety down and kind of made me confident with the way that I was executing my career experience. And then, so that's the first challenge that I faced. And the second challenge was, I think the finance and macroeconomics courses were the ones that I found slightly more difficult. But what was great was being able to ask some of my peers for help and for advice who had actually come from finance or macroeconomic backgrounds. So what I found was that it was really easy to tap into other people's knowledge and to get a bit of support where necessary as well. And that stopped me from falling behind on some of the more challenging courses for me.
That's great, George, and of course, well done on your job offer. So it all paid off.
Yeah, I'll just add a little bit to that. Oh, sorry, Allison. If you want to.
Okay.
Sure. It was just a little bit to add about how there is a lot going on in the fall. As George was mentioning, a lot of people start recruiting during that time, and I think you'll hear this a lot as well, but I think everyone underestimates how busy the fall is going to be. And as much as you try and prepare for it in terms of balancing your classes, your recruitment, all the social aspects of being in a new city at a new school and meeting everyone, I think I kind of got swept up in everything. For me, it was a little bit different because I knew I would start recruiting in the spring since the industry and the kind of firms I was interested didn't really recruit in the fall. And so technically I shouldn't have gotten swept up in the recruitment stress, but I definitely still did. Everyone was going to company presentations and networking events, and I felt like if I wasn't doing these things at all, I would be missing out. And I think I had that feeling with a lot of different things as well, but basically I was getting stressed out about something that I really shouldn't be getting stressed about until the spring. And I think just being able to balance that and also understanding, okay, what's your priority this week or today, and then remembering why did you decide to go to LBS? Why did you join the Master's in Management program? When are you looking for a job? What's your priority at this moment? I think is really important, and I think everyone knows that coming in, but it's difficult, or sometimes you lose sight of that once you're like swept in and in the middle of it all. So I think that was challenging for me in the first few months. There were also some courses, like George said, that I struggled with. Finance definitely was one of that as well. I had taken finance before, but not in 4 or 5 years once I started. So definitely took a while to get used to all of that again. But you have support and you can reach out, which is also different from my undergrad. I felt like that was a lot more of a competitive environment. Here I always felt like I could reach out to people in my courses in my study group, any friends, and we formed study groups, studied together for the exams, and where I would usually maybe have studied alone, but like we really supported each other in that, which I've really appreciated. So yeah.
Great, that's great.
Yeah, I think Laura really covered everything I wanted to say, because I actually wanted to mention the balance between having a social life and also your career goals and also your academic goals. It was really difficult for me to balance all three, and same as Laura, I was also kind of swept into like looking into jobs that I didn't really want to apply for and getting influenced by all my course mates. But at the same time, I think I actually did gain a lot from that because I learned from the process and I learned more about other industries, which was really.
Sorry, I'd just like to add to that a bit. So I was part of the students who actually were swept up in this wave. I guess that is the fall semester, which is the people who want to apply to investment banking and the people who want to apply to consulting offices in London and in Dubai, because the recruitment cycles are very early in the year. So as soon as you step into LBS, you have to prepare your application, start practicing case interviews. It is quite challenging in the first 2 months, but it pays off. I mean, I personally had to forego my social life a bit in the first 2 months. It is challenging, but I just had to do what I needed to do to land the job that I wanted, and it really paid off. I got the offer I wanted, and since then, I've been really enjoying the rest of the experience. So it's definitely a challenge, but like Laura said, when you know what your priority is and you just cater to that and do what's best for yourself in the moment, you should be fine. You just shouldn't go all over the place trying to do everything. Just decide what your priority is to do right now and focus on that. And
I absolutely agree with all of you. I think prioritizing and finding the balance is key to anything in life. I have another question, I guess, in terms of, still on the topic of the program academics. Was there anything specifically that you really enjoyed? It could be maybe your favorite core course, or an elective, or anything part of the program itself that you really enjoyed, that you felt that you really benefited from?
Yeah, so my favorite course was actually my leading teams and organizations course. Organizational psychology in general was something that I really wanted to focus a little bit more on at LBS. Having already come from a technical background, I wanted to build up slightly more interpersonal skills and stuff like that. And what I found was that it was such a personal course. We had different exercises each class where a different person would lead a team exercise, and we would all provide feedback to them. Our professor would send us pretty personalized emails every week. So we got a lot of really great feedback. And the way that we were learning drew from cutting edge research at major institutions around the world, including LBS. We tackled lots of case studies and talked about how we would deal with specific leadership situations and adapt our leadership style. And it was really just a very motivational course. And what I'm loving now is that now that I've started working on my London lab project, I had the confidence to kind of step into that leadership role. And I've had a lot of success applying some of the skills and techniques that I learned on that course to leading my.
Yeah, I think similar to George, I just finished my first elective as well. It was called Causality and Field Experiments, and it was an elective that I was really looking forward to, and it was an even better experience than I expected. I think for this elective, the class size is a lot smaller than our core courses, which allowed for a lot more discussion-based classes, which was super interesting. I was also in a class from people from other programs, so both the Early Careers program and also MBA programs. And also the topic of the course was exactly what I'm interested in, what I'm hoping to go into after LBS. So it was about setting up research experiments in a way that you can prove cause and effect and just causality. So it was really, really interesting, and I really enjoyed that. And I'm definitely really happy about that experience. And yeah, the ability to tailor the program to my experience in that way. Yeah.
Something I really like is that LBS being an only graduate school, so we're only basically master's students and MBA students. You get to pick electives, and then inside those electives, you're actually in the same class as MBA students who have much more work experience, like real life experience than us. So class discussion in these electives were very interesting, and you get to hear points of view that you would never get in like one of our core courses, which of course you get interesting points of view in anyways, but having this input from the MBA students and being put into group and group projects with them also enriched your experience very much. So my favorite course was Merger Acquisitions and Alliances, which was a strategy course on the subject. And yeah, the MBAs were able to bring in real life experience from their M&A past or activities when asked questions in class, and it definitely, I think, builds up your business acumen.
Absolutely, I agree with you, Anna, and I think it's the diversity in the knowledge of everyone who's participating in those discussions. I think it's very important that you learn from your peers just as much as you would learn from your lecturers as well. So I think the point that you made is I 100% agree with. Just because Alison, I know you're doing the GMIM, so you're a little bit different than what everyone else is doing. Was there anything additional that you did this year that was slightly different? Maybe could you talk about, I guess, is it the language class that you took or anything additional, or even in your second year that's awaiting you for Fudan? Is there anything particular that you're looking forward to?
So for me, I have a bit of background in already speaking Chinese. So I went to the advanced Chinese, business Chinese class. And I think that was quite interesting because, when you learn Chinese back in elementary school, you only do like the basic, more conversational style of learning. Whereas in this business Chinese class, I learned more like technical skills that will really help me in a business setting. And because most of the students in GMIM, they are more beginners in Chinese, learning Chinese. So most of them are in the beginners class, and my class was kind of small, so I had a lot of interaction with the Chinese teacher. And also she has a lot of experience in teaching these classes from back to, I think she's been teaching in LBS since like before 2010. So she has a lot of experience, and she knows what is very useful for business, for at least for LBS students. And another thing that's different is that we have checkpoints along the way so far in the first year. So we've been able to build a connection and bond with other GMIM students, because right now we are kind of like spread out across the whole MIM cohort. So during these checkpoints, we get to know each other better. We talk about what our goals for our second year. And in our later session, we even talk to some seniors who are actually doing the second year now in Fudan. And they were talking about how life is right now in Fudan and what classes they're taking and how the academics is different from LBS. So we get prepared for our second year in Fudan, even though we're quite far away, but we still need to start preparing for it.
Absolutely, I agree. and I wish you all the best in your second year at Fudan. Thank you all so much for sharing, your points with us today. I'll just move on to a little bit of a different topic now, more of kind of like in terms of the community and the support that you're getting in mapping out your career journeys and the ways that you were able to really secure those work placements. Could you probably share with us how you were able to get everything straightened out in terms of studying, but also being proactive in kind of securing those roles?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. What I would say is that once you've accepted your offer and before you're on campus, the school already sends you different things to read about how to produce your CV, how to work on your cover letter, how to sort of explore you as a person and what you're looking for in your career. And then when you get onto campus, there are a large range of workshops, many of which are actually mandatory that you attend, that are just really helpful for helping you scope out your career plan and figure out your timeline for when you need to do things throughout the year. And then what you also benefit from is you get access to book one-on-one career coaching appointments, either in a specialist sector or generalist career appointments. And in the specialist career appointments, you can talk about, for example, what it's like to recruit for consulting in a different country. So if I wanted to do consulting in Milan, let's say I'm Italian and I want to consult in Milan, then I could talk to my career coach about that. I could also do practice interviews with my career coach, talk about general nerves, how to prepare for recruitment tests and aptitude tests and stuff like that. So that was all led by the careers department. And then you also have access to book peer leader meetings, which are one-on-one meetings with MBA students who have done internships in the sectors that you're interested in. So I was able to meet one-on-one peer leaders from McKinsey, Strategy and from Guidehouse, where I'm joining. And that was really, really helpful for me to get their perspective on what it took to master the interview process and what it's like to work in those firms.
Thank you, George, for sharing that experience. Anyone else would like to add anything?
Yeah, I'll have a go at it. So definitely everything that George said, the Career Center provides one-on-one appointments, workshops, etc. They're also reachable by email. I mean, these one-on-one coaching sessions are very in demand. Sometimes you can just send your cover letter to one of the coaches and they'll review it if they have time. The Career Center also provides an LBS casebook. So specifically for consulting, you have access to cases with their solution, their breakdown, their explanation, all the exhibits. And then you can use this to kind of role play with other students and pretend to be in a consulting interview. Something additional to the Career Center is the consulting club itself provides opportunities to have case interviews with MBA students who are from a consulting background, and that helps a lot as well. And I think that all of this combines for consulting specifically, sorry here, is a really kind of holistic way to prepare you for.
Great, thanks Anna for that. And I think that leads us into our kind of next area quite well. I know that most of you shared in your introductions, in your intros, the clubs that you guys are involved in. I was wondering if you guys could probably share just a little bit about what that involvement meant to you, and how
I can start talking about that a little. So I think I'm involved in like clubs and other student activities in a variety of ways. I think there's the more professional or academic aspect that Anna already kind of touched upon. So though I'm not part of the consulting club, I'm part of the marketing club, and I've attended many of their sessions, and they recently had a sort of like speed networking session with a couple of companies or representatives from companies coming onto campus and like giving short presentations about what they did, and then afterwards you had the chance to network with these companies as well. So it's not just through the Career Center that you can meet these company representatives, but also on a more, I guess, specialized level through these clubs. And then the marketing club has also brought in some amazing speakers, and those sessions have been super insightful as well. And and then apart from like the career side, I'm also part of the running club, so I do enjoy going running, and it was important for me to keep that up. But with the stress of doing a master's in 1 year, I think it's been really great to keep myself accountable through joining this club and everyone training together for races, and I found some really great friends in that club as well. So there's definitely the social side of these clubs as well, even though I think what these clubs put on in terms of conferences and speaker and company events is incredible as well to support you along your journey, whatever you're looking for. So yeah.
I'll talk about maybe the club that I'm most involved in, which is Asia Club. And I guess it's different from the clubs that were mentioned because it's more of a regional club and it's more tailored to people from Southeast Asia and also people who are interested in Southeast Asian cultures. And so in our club, I do mostly the public relations part of it, but we also do many different activities that caters to whatever you're interested in. So for example, we have social activities, we have panels for careers, and also we also join like student-wide, school-wide activities such as tattoo. So for example, social activities could be anything from Korean barbecue, Chinese dim sum, gathering, and then for the panels we have one panel of MBA students talking about consulting in Asia, and also there was another panel about doing technology and IT related stuff in Asia for your career. And for tattoo, I was part of the dance crew, and we performed at the talent show. So I think that was very interesting for me to be part of the Asia.
Thanks, Alison. And you mentioned dance. I know, Anna, you are.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, in the same respect, I'm part of the Middle East Club, so we kind of have the same initiative. On campus, there are clubs for almost every region/country. So there's Latin American club, Italian club, French club, GSA, which is Germany, Switzerland, Austria. Like there are a lot of different clubs. There's one for everyone, I think. So with the Middle East Club, I'm VP Social, and one of the things we did was organize a party in Camden, which was really fun. And we also participated in tattoo, so in the performance, which I choreographed, and that was honestly one of the most rewarding experiences at LBS, I'd say. It was super fun, very memorable night. Definitely one I won't forget. And yeah, apart from that, I'm in the Salsa Club. So the Salsa Club holds classes every Monday, and it's very social dancing. So like a line of girls and a line of boys, and we just switch. So everyone dances with everyone. And I learned salsa this year, so that was interesting. And yeah, but also on the, just because we're very specifically interested in certain areas, but for other clubs that are more career related, let's say, we had really everything, ranging from marketing to real estate to investment banking. It's really
That's great, guys. Thank you all so much for sharing. I know that this slide is revolved around the Career Centre, and I know we've touched upon, your experiences and your support that you've gained. Maybe in your opinion, if you can talk about one aspect that you found very useful for you, maybe specifically.
I think the people that join the MiM program there's definitely a large spectrum in terms of how well they know what they want to do after LBS. Some people coming in knowing exactly what kind of job, which location, where they want to work, and some people come in trying to explore it while they're here and really making use of like the support of the Career Center and like the resources that they have access to here. So whether you come in and you know exactly you've written all your cover letters and you know you're applying for this company and this office, the Career Center is there for you if you're already further in your career search with these mock interviews that they offer, or like cover letter review sessions, whether it's with the Career Center or the MBA peer leaders. So there's definitely a lot of support in that area of your career search in a way. I think for me in the fall, I used it more as an exploratory kind of sense. I had an idea of what I wanted to do, but because I knew the recruitment for that wouldn't start until the spring, I had the time in the fall to explore different industries. And similar to what Allison said before, I think I learned a lot about different industries and different companies that I hadn't even considered. In the end, it just reinforced my decision to go into the analytics space in consumer goods. But I mean, that's also an answer that you can get. And then along the way, I just found out so much more about industries. And who knows, I might have found like my dream job, my dream industry, my dream company through all of this. And I think all the networking events were really great and showing what there is to offer. And throughout the process, the career coaches have really been there to support me, even in this more exploratory stage as well.
I think that's a great summary of what happens at LBS and why it is such a supportive environment to work on your career. The only thing that I would add as well that I found really useful was there's such amazing access to recruiters based in London. So you get different companies coming on campus to talk about their firm, whether it's a multinational company or whether it's a startup. You really have access to meet a lot of different people and to find out about a lot of different roles. And one of the things that the Career Centre does is they also run various different careers fairs that are focused on different areas. So it could be a tech-focused careers fair, it could be a startup careers fair, it could be a boutique consultancy, or it could be a large consultancy, or it could be investment banking or private equity. You know, there are all of these specific events that you can go to based upon your interest to help.
I'd like to mention that
Great, thank you, George and Laura, for sharing that.
So maybe I'll just continue a little bit about
go ahead,
the Career Centre and how it helps for GMIM students. So even for our second year, we will have a contact for with one of the with the Career Centre back in LBS, and so you don't have to worry about not getting any information or support from LBS when you're in Shanghai in the second year.
Great, thanks, Alison. I had asked all the ambassadors to share a few pictures and if they were happy to talk about some highlights for during their experience on the program and the things that they were involved in. As you can see, they have definitely shared a lot. It looks like they've had such a fun time here. Does anyone kind of want to talk about any specific
I can start talking about a couple of these pictures. I think the picture in the top left and the top middle, where we're wearing the funny orange helmets, that was at the very start of the school year in August or September, and that's when we had first met our study groups, who we would be working super closely together throughout the entire fall. Something that George talked about earlier is that a lot of the things we do is group work on a very practical level, and it's really difficult to really delve into this intense kind of academic group work without knowing your group well. So LBS actually hosted an away day where we did loads of different team building activities that included climbing, and really you had to trust each other when you didn't know anything about anyone. So that was definitely very fun, lots of outdoor activities, and something that I really enjoyed. And then another bonding event that we did with our next study group is the second picture from the right in the top row. That's me with my study group from this term. So in the second term, we got a new study group, and as a way to get to know each other then, all the MiM students did a scavenger hunt throughout London where we had to complete different tasks for points in our groups, and then the best groups won a prize, and that was super duper fun as well. Not only did we get to know each other really well because we spent the entire day walking through London, but we also got to see a lot more of London than I ever had. That picture was in Hyde Park, so we walked through the entire of Hyde Park, and then we actually ended the day grabbing a pint together in a pub, and it was such a great experience, and I'm really close with all of them, and I don't think I would be if we hadn't gone through that experience together. Yeah.
I'll go next. I keep coming back to tattoo. I'm so sorry, but so basically, tattoo is a student-led event. During this event, there are over 1,000 people on campus. The whole campus comes alive. There are food stands from every region of the world that the regional clubs organize, and there's a battle of the bands where LBS students who form bands go and play their music. There's an amazing light show that's displayed on the whole building that you can see in the picture in the bottom row in the middle. A light and music show which everyone watches at the end. That's a really nice moment. And there's the talent show, of course. If you can see in the picture where the lighting is kind of purple, we actually got one of our professors to go up on stage and dance with us. A couple of clubs did that. That was a really fun moment. But it's a very, very nice event. Another good event, there's no picture here, but it's the Social Impact Week as well. Wasn't some picture, but it's basically a week where you work. I mean, you have the chance to do several things, but you can work with organizations that work on social impact and do kind of a day with them, an event where you work on mini projects. There's also the volunteering event. I personally didn't go to that one this year, but where you get to do several different things, like teaching kids that are underprivileged some skills like skateboarding. There are a lot of activities running around the volunteering.
Would anyone else want to add?
Sure, I can just add one thing. What I really loved was from meeting people from different cultures, just going for things like meals out where in the bottom right, you can see that I went for a meal with some Korean friends, and they kind of just ordered everything in Korean for us. I had the full experience in terms of, anything silly like playing all the drinking games or stuff that I hadn't really done before, trying all new types of food. And I think it's really easy to just make friends with people from different countries, which was really fun. And on the second from the top left, so one right from the top left, the skiing one. I'm so bad at explaining where it is on the screen, sorry. The skiing trip was so much fun, and I love skiing anyway, and it was just such a nice chance to spend some bonding time with people who I'd met on the course. And I think we all got so much closer because of that. So that's a nice memory.
Yes, all of those pictures look amazing, and it does look like you all had a blast. So thank you so much for sharing those with us. And I'm sure, you have those memories forever. Finally, I just wanted to wrap it up with maybe just quickly if you guys have any tips for any students who are currently applying. You are obviously in their shoes.
Yeah, so what I would recommend is that if you do have any questions, that you use UniBuddy, which is our online tech platform where you can speak directly to student ambassadors. And that's a really great chance for you to ask any of your questions and to find out more about student experience or get more tips on your application. So I'd really recommend using that resource. And yeah, overall in your application, I think it's really great if you can show how you'll contribute to the school community, because we are a very warm and open community, and show how you fit with some of the school values, because whilst the people are all very different and have very different experiences at the school, I think we're bonded by similar values. So that's something I definitely recommend thinking about. And also you can use those sorts of values to judge whether you would enjoy the school as well. So try and make your judgment on what you want to get out of it and how well LBS aligns with that.
Thanks, George. Is there anyone that wants to add to that?
For me, I would like to say that maybe focus more on your essays for your application instead of focusing on, for example, your GMAT score or your uni undergraduate GPA, because those you can't really change that much. Like you can't really put in that much effort and like showcase what your true abilities are like, because they're really just numbers. So for me, I would like to say that maybe focus more on your essays if you maybe didn't do so well for your GMAT, because that is really a good chance for you to show what your personality is really like and how you can really contribute to the school. So, I see someone said, is it important to concentrate on the essays? Yeah, definitely, because it's really a chance for you to differentiate yourself from other people, because a lot of other people will have the same kind of GMAT score and uni GPA. So it's really a good chance for you to show what is unique about your personality and also show your true self and how you relate to school, and show that
Yeah, just to give an sorry.
I 100%.
Just to give an example, I think on the website the LBS mentioned that a minimum GPA is kind of 3.5 over 4.0, and I had a 3.47 GPA, and I was just, when I was applying, I was just so scared, like, oh my God, will they even consider me? And it doesn't matter. They really look at the application holistically. So the numbers, they're already there. You can't change them now anyway. You just put them in your application, and like Alison said, focus on the rest. There are essays, but there are also short questions to answer throughout the application, and they will permit you to really present yourself and really say everything you want to say about yourself.
Thank you guys for all of your tips. So we have now a Q&A session. I know that we've kind of run out of the time, so we'll try and answer as many as we possibly can as quickly as possible. I can see here that someone has asked, I've heard that the GMAT GRE is waived for the students applying for the next intake. Is that true? At the moment, because of the current situation with COVID-19, a lot of test centres have closed. So at the moment, we are accepting scores and applications without the GMAT and GRE scores in the given time. We do understand that GMAT are currently working on an online version of that exam. So please bear in mind that you may be asked to take it at a later date once that is available. We also have a question for our students here that says, how are you coping during this tough time amid the COVID pandemic? So I think it's something we can't really ignore. It's the hot topic at the moment. So if you guys maybe want to share on how you
so
guys
I can
are
talk
coping
to that. So what I found is that the school has been communicating really well with us throughout this time of uncertainty, and they have been really offering their support. In addition to that, the Student Association, which is run by students, has also been very supportive. All of our curriculum has actually moved to digital delivery, so we're being delivered our lectures on Zoom, and there's been a lot of hard work going in to make sure that all of the courses are still super high quality. And I have had a couple of lectures on Zoom so far, and they have been really good. So that has been delivered so far. What else to say? I think that students have been really supportive with one another as well. So we have been sort of exchanging messages, keeping in touch with each other on group chat, and really making sure that even though a lot of us are far away and around different parts of the world, that we still feel connected. And then the school has also done a good job of maintaining like extracurricular events via video calls and other ways. And even all of our projects that we were doing, like our consulting projects, I'm doing a social impact consulting project remotely with clients in India right now. So that's still going ahead. And yeah, it's been really impressive how we've all come together.
Great, thank you, George. We have a question here that asks if it's worth applying within the 4th deadline round now that we are approaching. I would say yes. It is always worth trying. We wouldn't have a deadline round if we didn't have spaces. So of course, I would say focus on your application. As Alison said, focus on your essay answers. And, Anna touched on the point that, if you have completed your undergrad studies, there's nothing that you can change at the moment. So it's all about kind of putting your energy into that application and really giving it your best shot. So yes, I would absolutely say go ahead. If you are interested in applying, there are still spaces, and our final deadline is on the 22nd of April, so there is still time. Unfortunately, we have run over our schedule. I understand that we did start a little later because of the technical difficulties that we were facing with the presentation. But for all of these questions that we haven't answered today, as George said, you can get in touch with the ambassadors. if there are any kind of questions for them. And please do get in touch with the recruitment team. We have our email addresses on the website, and we'll be more than happy to answer those questions. But I hope that you found this webinar insightful and useful, and thank you so much to our ambassadors who have agreed to take the time out and help us in sharing their experiences. And hopefully there will be more